NFL is gearing up. Oh, man, I'm salivating right now because my fantasy football draft, which we will be doing live, is next Tuesday, the 26th. I absolutely love fantasy football. I absolutely love the NFL, and it's coming. So let's just jump into some of the big stories that are happening right now. Number one, I really want to talk about this because not only is this a sports story, but this is just a humanitarian story. The St. Louis Rams, Jeff Fisher, the head coach of the St. Louis Rams, was looking at all the stuff that's happening in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, Ferguson, Missouri is not very far. It's maybe 20, 25 minutes away from St. Louis, if that. And he was looking at the situation and trying to figure out what he could do to help. Because it's just horrible. What's going on there? What happened was horrible, and then the protests started out nice and peaceful, and the majority of the protests, I'm not trying to say anything bad about those protesters. You have your right to protest. You should be out there on the streets protesting the injustice that's happened there. But it kind of turned over to riots at one point, and it was usually later at night. So after the peaceful...
The riot gear came out and started...
Well, yeah, after they pretty much said, oh, you want to protest? Hey, we're going to put military. Pretty much they militarized the police there. And I was looking at pictures of it. I mean, these really, you can't tell the difference between them and, like, Army veterans that are, like, to the nines in their Army gear. And it just... This isn't a political show. This isn't a political show, but I'm not happy with what went down. Yeah, bad things are going on. Lots of peaceful protests are getting overshadowed by a few bad moments. But overall... in general, I think what's happening there is something that needs to happen, just a healing of a process. But again, this isn't a political show. We're not going to really get into that. But so Jeff Fisher was sitting there and trying to think of something he could do, and he heard that 3 high schools in the Ferguson area had actually been closed, and so the football teams could not practice due to what's going on. Now, schools don't open up until next week, so I do believe that even if there is still unrest, they will open up the schools, but they were not allowing people in there to... like the football teams could not practice. So what did he do? He reached out to those high schools and said, hey, we have this really big practice facility. Why don't you come over and use it? So he's kind of giving them the open door policy to use their facilities while this trouble is going on, so that these kids can stay off the street, they can stay doing something positive and, you know, trying to enrich their lives through football. And I just think that's one of the coolest things that I've heard of coming out of this whole stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously it's not going to grasp the severity of the situation, but it's at least doing something to help, something simple. You know, we have an extra fields available. Come on, you can use it to practice in football.
Well, I mean, and they've even invited them to sit in on some practices. They're showing them weight rooms, and a lot of the Rams players. So you have NFL players really kind of mentoring and tutoring these kids out of high school, and it's just, you know, it's positivity coming out of negativity, sort of. Because again, we're not a political show. We're not going to go into all the pros and cons of what's going on, but it's something good coming out of something bad. And that's something I like to see, because whenever you can take a bad situation and turn it into a positive one, that is the best way to do it. I mean,
or at least
it's really hard.
Curb the situation, get something good out of it, something positive.
It's really hard to take negative stuff and turn it into positive. There's an expression, I believe it's easier to see the badness in the good than the goodness in the bad. And right now we're seeing somebody see the goodness in the bad and taking that and blowing that up. So, salute to you, Jeff Fisher. That's really cool what you're doing for those high school teams. And so let's take that and roll that over. And Julio Jones recently came out. Now, this is the stellar wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. He broke his foot last year, about week 5, and totally screwed my fantasy football team. Yeah, I'm not drafting you this year, buddy, unless you're there in like the 8th round. But probably not going to. Actually, I might draft you. You're still a stud. But
I'm drafting you, Julio. I believe in you.
Brendan believes in you. But yeah, so he has recently come out and said that the doctors, they re-examined his foot after he played the first preseason game last week, and they said, you're good. You're fully healed. You have a clean bill of health. And Julio Jones came out and said, great. I still think I have some mental hurdles to get over, though. And that, when he says that, he means, you know, he's still thinking about his foot. It's not like he's running down the field and just foot loose and fancy free. Is that the expression? I need to stop using expressions. They suck.
I mean, just your expressions suck. I don't know.
You're
You
right.
need to update your ideas and your phrases, your terminology.
I need to get some 20th century expressions, but yeah, so...
yeah, some 20th century. Even though we're in the 21st, you'll at least be a century closer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dropping 19th century expressions right now, so just bumping myself up a century, that would be an improvement, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, so he's still kind of iffy about it. He hasn't gotten mentally back there, and that's something that happens with a lot of players, especially with knee injuries. That's what I usually see it the biggest with.
It's actually really good that he admits it, because I don't think you don't see that as much.
No, yeah, you never see it. Oh, my knee is fine. Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, these are pro-level athletes. They're
and again, we're going to bring it back to a local team. But last year, when RG3 was wearing the knee brace, you could tell he was mentally okay. His leg was fine, but mentally he wasn't ready. He was still doing more to protect his knee. He was trying not to use that leg as much, and that really affected his play. So
yeah, and the year before too, when he had the knee injury, he was the one saying like, "Hey, I'm good to go in," and screwed himself up more.
Yeah. So you're second guessing. You start second guessing yourself, and really, football is instinctual. You just got to know, okay, this is my play, but if this happens, you got to react just by instinct a lot of the time. So
yeah, you don't have time to think too much.
Yeah, when you're thinking too much, it kind of slows you down. So. But I'm glad to see Julio Jones is back in the game. This game is definitely a better game with Julio Jones in it. So that's that. And we were just speaking about RG3, so let's continue to talk about that. And after his Monday night game against the Browns for preseason, where he took way too many hits, he vowed and promised the Redskins fans that he would learn to slide better. And if you saw any of his slides, he definitely needs to do that.
Was he even trying to slide? Like, honestly, he dropped to the ground a few times. Sometimes he didn't even bother dropping to the ground. Sometimes he just went out. Sometimes he dropped to the ground like really awkwardly. I don't think he was trying to slide. I think he was just like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be down on the ground now. Let me drop.
Oh, I guess I'll drop. Yeah, and one of the slides, he even slid really awkwardly and got up limping a little bit, so it's just like, oh, no. But here's my advice to you, RG3. Now, you probably won't listen to my advice, but I think it's good advice anyway. Call up the Nationals, call up the Orioles, say, hey, I need somebody to help me slide. Make it a big PR event. Make it, okay, RG3 and Bryce Harper come together and they do the Ice Bucket Challenge and Bryce Harper teaches them how to slide. Make it an event for kids or something like that. But learn how to slide. Baseball players, they do it all the time. They're pretty good at it. And so
and the Nationals are doing really well this year. So.
Yeah, reach out to somebody. They'll teach you how to slide. Trust me, no matter what. Even if you don't make an event out of it. Even if it's just, hey, man, come over to my house and we'll try it in my backyard. Whatever you need to do, learn how to slide. Hire a coach. I don't care what you do. Learn how to slide. Protect that knee, buddy.
Ask me to come over. I'll teach you how to slide.
Yeah, he'll do it for free. All right, RG3, if you want Brendan to come over and teach you how to slide, just go ahead and hit us up at What's My Face on Twitter, and we'll be right there. Like, literally in 2 seconds. I don't know where you live, but we'll speed. We will break the law. No, we won't. I can't admit to us breaking the law. We might speed.
We allegedly will break the law, but
allegedly.
We cannot confirm nor deny
those allegations
of breaking laws that would theoretically and hypothetically happen were you to call us.
Maybe, possibly, kind of might happen. Yeah. So learn how to slide. And I don't know how to transition this, but we're just going to go into it. The extra point experiment has been completed. If you notice, the first 2 weeks of this year's preseason, all the kicks for extra points were being kicked from, I believe it was something like the 20-yard line, so it would have been equivalent to a 33-yard field goal. And it was actually kind of interesting. I liked it. It made it so that you didn't necessarily, okay, scored a touchdown, let me change the channel right away, because you want to see if they make that quick kick. Now, it's not a huge difference. They made about 94
pretty much guarantee. It's not absolutely, but it's like, I mean, as we've said, having watched many particular teams like the Redskins over the years, we've seen those kicks get missed. Those 30 and 33-yard goals. And you've seen extra point goals get missed when they're hit or something like that. But it's pretty rare. I mean, when you're a pro kicker, you should be able to hit anything within 40. So
yeah, you really should. If you can't hit within 40, I don't know why you're on a team. But yeah, so teams during this experiment hit 94.3% of their extra points, which is still, crazy. It's almost a lock still. That is down, though, from 99.6% from...
That is, though, that's still preseason, though, going. So these are not necessarily your top kickers or the ones that you're going to go with. So
I mean, some places you might still have a competition going on. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that brings us to... I don't know what to call this story. It's just a weird story. It's like, how could you be so dumb? Maybe that's what we'll call it, our segment. How could you be so dumb? And that is for the Steelers running backs. And now this is their number 1 and their number 2 running back. And that's Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount. And Blount has an oddly appropriate name for what he did. So they were recently, they went to Philadelphia this week for a preseason game. And Bell and Blount and a female were in his Camaro, Bell's Camaro, driving down the road when a motorcycle police officer smells the odor of marijuana in the air, sees his car driving by, says, well, that's probably where it's from. Pulls him over, they have 20 grams of marijuana on them. So they both were arrested. Bell was taken to the hospital, and he had blood drawn because they're probably going to charge him with a DUI. And both of these guys are in not huge trouble because apparently only having 20 grams is only a misdemeanor in Pennsylvania. But they will be getting in trouble, and they will be getting fined. And all I got to say...
bigger restrictions going to come from the NFL. Because...
Well, yeah, I mean... You don't know what's going to happen, and this is really going to throw a lot of fantasy owners in a bind because the NFL usually lets the courts take care of the court stuff first before they start handing down suspensions. So we could see this case either get postponed if they have decent lawyers. They'll postpone it until after the season. If they don't have the greatest lawyers, they might have to go to court in October or something like that. And then if they get in trouble for it, Roger Goodell's going to say, okay, now you're suspended for this many games. So... yeah, you really went ahead and put your team in a horrible position because not only your number 1 running back, but your number 2 running back, both of them caught in the same car doing the same thing. And it's really just kind of sad. It's just like, what are you doing, guys? This is your career. You're making millions of dollars. Wait until afterwards, then move to Colorado and smoke all the weed you want. Like, really.
There's many other options. Don't do it while driving. Jeez, you have big places to go to.
Smart. Yeah, you definitely had a hotel room you could have gone to. I mean, but like I said, one of the players is funnily named Blunt, and he got caught smoking blunts. So yeah, good way to put yourself in a bind. And it's funny too, because Pittsburgh is one of those teams that is known for picking character players that usually won't get into this trouble. The past couple of years, they haven't quite had that. I believe Santonio Holmes got busted, or maybe it was Plaxico Burress. One of their receivers a couple of years ago got busted with having pot right outside the stadium. You had Ben Roethlisberger and all his shenanigans. And so it's just kind of weird seeing this come out of the Pittsburgh franchise, because usually they stay away from this. The Rooney family is actually one of the more upstanding families in the NFL. Actually, one of the Rooneys is like the ambassador to Ireland or something like that. So, I mean, they usually don't pick these players.
And honestly, too, the other thing I was just thinking is this is one of those occupations, being a football player and other sports players, where it really is part of your job to not be dealing with any kind of illegal substances.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about them doing steroids, break the rules, and this is not that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this is really part of your job, because if something happens in the court, even if you get off and other stuff and you don't have to actually go to jail or whatever, the NFL's going to suspend you. Mm-hmm. And if the NFL suspends you, it's hurting your team. It's hurting your team big. At least if you're a good player.
Especially the positions they are. I mean, they're really, really putting their team in a bind by the top 2 running backs getting in trouble like this. So, and I'm not trying to say that they did anything super, really crazy bad or anything like that. I don't care what you do on your personal time, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But in this case, you are hurting other people. You are hurting your team. Like I said, wait 10 years, you'll be out of the NFL in 10 years.
Millions of dollars not to get involved in this right now.
Take your paycheck and be happy. Yeah, And then, like I said, hey, 10 years down the road, you've had a good career, you're done. well, I'm sitting on about $50 million. I'm just going to move to Colorado and smoke all the weed I want. I mean, come on.
To a small country somewhere else. Whatever you want to do. Or just
and
get a private jet
all
and
day
fly
long,
somewhere else.
Yeah.
While he's on the beach.
Yeah. Or at least hire a chauffeur to drive you around. I mean, that would be better than driving yourself around like that. So, yeah, I'm not trying to chastise these guys because they're still young. I believe Bell is only about 23, 24. So you're still young. Young people make mistakes. Just all I'm asking is you learn from this mistake. Clean yourself up. I want to see you in the NFL. I'm not a Steelers fan, but I like seeing the highest level competition on the field. So, and I was going to draft Bell. I'm going to be honest with you. It kind of blew my plans because Bell was on my draft board. He did very well for me last year towards the second half of the year, and I thought he would be a player that I could pick up in late rounds that would still give me good production. So, thanks for ruining my fantasy team, Bell. Thank you.
See, that's the other thing. You're letting Brian down.
Yep.
You shouldn't do these kind of things. You're letting down all the fantasy players.
Look at it.
Just shows you that it hurts the people around you when you do.
But yeah, so guys, like I said, I mean, you're young. You're allowed to make mistakes. Please just learn from the mistake and move on. It's not a huge mistake. It didn't get anybody hurt. It doesn't sound like it's really going to throw you in jail for a long time or at all. So just learn from it. Take your suspension. Say you're going to do better and move on, and we'll forgive you. So, yeah. But you know what?